Göbekli Tepe, the first impossible temple. 12,000 years ago, someone built a temple before humanity knew how to farm. No writing, no metal, yet geometry and alignment that rivals modern observatories. And then, they buried it all, as if hiding a secret from the future. At the top of a dry, wind-beaten hill in southeastern Turkey stands Göbekli Tepe, the oldest known temple on Earth. It wasn't a village. It wasn't a home. It was a place of design, ceremony, and mystery, built by people we still call primitive. But those people carved massive T-shaped pillars from solid limestone, each weighing up to 15 tons. They lifted them upright, fitted them into circles, and etched them with animals, symbols, and patterns that hint at something far more sophisticated than survival. Who teaches hunter-gatherers to carve 15-ton stones into cosmic calendars? Archaeologists first thought it must have been built by early farmers, but the radiocarbon dates told another story, 10,000 years before the pyramids, before writing, before the wheel. It stood at the very edge of the last ice age. Some researchers believe its carvings track the movement of stars and constellations across the sky. Others suggest the animal symbols might mark celestial events, like a cosmic diary etched in stone. Whatever its purpose, it required planning, cooperation, and mathematical understanding far beyond what we believed possible for that era. Was this the dawn of civilization, or the memory of one that came before? Then comes the strangest part. At some point, the builders buried the entire site under thousands of tons of earth. Not destroyed, not abandoned, buried, perfectly preserved, as if to protect it from something or someone. What faith builds the first temple, then erases it with their own hands? Even today, only a fraction of Göbekli Tepe has been unearthed. Beneath the remaining hills may lie more rings, more carvings, and perhaps more answers we aren't ready to face. Göbekli Tepe stands as a contradiction to everything we thought we knew about human origins. But if this was humanity's beginning, what came before the beginning? Atlantis and the memory of prehistory. Plato wrote of a shining empire, drowned in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries we've called it myth, yet the seabed holds traces of something that shouldn't exist. Atlantis may not be a place. It may be a memory humanity refuses to forget. Plato said the story came from Egypt. Priests who spoke of an island nation, rich in knowledge and power, that fell beneath the sea after angering the gods. To most scholars, it's allegory, a moral warning about pride. But there's something unsettling about how many other cultures tell the same story. Floods that came without warning, cities swallowed by the ocean, survivors who carried fragments of lost knowledge to rebuild the world. Why did so many ancient cultures speak of a golden age that ended in a flood? Geologists have found evidence of sudden sea level rise around 11,600 years ago, the same time Plato dated the fall of Atlantis, the end of the Younger Dryas when glaciers melted and coastlines drowned. Underwater, near the Azores and in the Sunda shelf of Southeast Asia, lie shapes that look unnervingly deliberate. Stone walls, steps, even grid-like foundations. Are these myths fragments of a shared trauma or records of a real catastrophe? To some researchers, the story of Atlantis might not describe a single place at all, but an entire era, an age of knowledge lost to fire and flood. If that's true, then Atlantis is not just a sunken island. It's the ghost of a civilization that reached too high, too soon. Could civilization itself be older than history allows? Plato never said Atlantis was imaginary. He said it was forgotten. And maybe that's all memory ever is, truth, blurred by time and retelling. Perhaps Atlantis isn't lost, it's simply misremembered. And far to the east, ancient India left stories not of a sunken world, but of machines that flew. Ancient India and the Vimana chronicles. The Vedas speak of flying chariots powered by liquid fire and mercury, texts that describe flight control, weapon guidance, and propulsion, thousands of years before the Wright brothers. Science fiction, or ancient engineering manuals we've failed to decode. For centuries, scholars treated these accounts as poetic imagination, but the Sanskrit word Vimana appears again and again across ancient Indian texts, each time referring to flying machines used by gods and heroes. Some shaped like spheres, others like pyramids or chariots that moved in all directions by means of the power of Mercury. Did ancient priests record myths or preserve memories of a forgotten science? The Mahabharata describes wars fought with weapons that leave light brighter than 1,000 suns, a line many have compared to the flash of atomic fire. Coincidence or ancestral warning? Then there's the Delhi Iron Pillar, over 1,600 years old, standing untarnished in open air. No rust, no corrosion, no decay. Its metallurgy remains unmatched by modern ironworkers. The secret lies in its microstructure, a deliberate alloy composition that passivates itself against time. Why does the Delhi Iron Pillar resist time as if made with knowledge we no longer possess? Even NASA engineers once noted that some passages of the Vaimanika Shastra describe fluid dynamics and propulsion systems eerily similar to ion drive concepts. If that's coincidence, it's a remarkable one. What if our ancestors were not just dreamers, but witnesses? In India's sacred texts, technology and divinity blur into one. Perhaps what they called gods were simply beings with machines beyond comprehension. And across the ocean, another forgotten people carved their gods into stone, faces that shouldn't exist. The Olmec and the Black Stone faces. Deep in the jungles of Mexico stand giants with unreadable faces, neither Mayan nor Aztec. Each head weighs nearly 40 tons and stares toward magnetic north, a civilization that vanished, leaving only silence carved in basalt. Archaeologists call them the Olmec, the mother culture of Mesoamerica. But what mother builds children from stone, then disappears without a trace? Their colossal heads were carved more than 3,000 years ago, from volcanic rock hauled across miles of rainforest, with no beasts of burden, no metal, and no wheels. How did they move mountains of stone without metal or wheels? The precision is unsettling. Every face unique, lips, helmets, and expressions rendered with anatomical accuracy. And yet, their features don't match the local populations of the time. Wide noses, full lips, and rounded faces that resemble people from far across the sea. Why do these features resemble people from distant continents? Some researchers suggest cultural diffusion, ancient voyagers, or simple artistic variation. Others whisper of an inheritance from an older civilization whose memory faded long before the Maya rose. Were the Olmec creators, or inheritors of something older still? Their cities, La Venta, San Lorenzo, were aligned not to rivers or trade routes, but to the stars. Each monument faces a pattern traced in the heavens, as if preserving a cosmic code no one today can read. And then, they were gone. No war, no collapse, just absence. The Olmec remain a question mark carved in stone, yet across the Mesopotamian plains, a civilization appeared fully formed, as if remembering rather than inventing. The Sumerian enigma. The Sumerians didn't evolve into greatness. They arrived with it. In the cradle of Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates, something extraordinary appeared around 4000 BC. Writing, astronomy, law, agriculture, architecture, all at once as if gifted. The cuneiform tablets tell of beings called the Anunnaki, gods who descended from the sky, bearing the me, the sacred laws of civilization itself. It wasn't gradual progress. It was a leap, as though humanity had remembered something it was never supposed to forget. How does a culture invent civilization with no prototypes? Their mathematics used a base 60 system, still embedded in how we count time today. Their maps of the heavens charted planets invisible to the naked eye. Cylinder seals depict orbits and spheres that only modern telescopes confirm. Were their myths allegory or encoded memory of contact with an older power? Even their language, Sumerian, stands apart. No known ancestor, no linguistic relatives. It simply appears, like a voice from another age, carried across the flood. Could Sumer be the echo of a world erased by time? As quickly as they rose, the Sumerians faded, absorbed by empires that couldn't recreate their spark. Yet their legacy endures in every law, every city, every written word humanity ever made. Sumer's brilliance feels less like invention, more like inheritance. And high in the Andes, stones still whisper of tools and techniques lost even to legend.